America, specifically Kentucky, all of Kentucky. Okay, so sad news. Robin Williams, who was a star of a bunch of movies, comedian, been around for a long ass time, ever since I can remember. 63 years old, killed himself. Right? Just said fuck it, fuck the world. Had no hope in his life. Robin Williams, a talented, he wasn't always 100%, but I don't know, maybe 25%, right? He would be hitting 1 out of 4, and then in baseball, that's batting 250. That's pretty fucking good, right? I mean, 300 is respectable, like to brag, but 250, that's somebody to have on the team. 1 out of 4, that's okay. Okay, so Robin Williams was actually very inspirational in a lot of movies when it comes to the Dead Poets Society, when it comes to Aladdin. In fact, I think Aladdin is what encapsulates Robin Williams the best, right? It takes Robin Williams and it captures his spirit and his soul and how wild and zany and his, like 40 something different impressions. And they just let him go with it, right? It was improvisational, so most of Aladdin wasn't written. It was just Robin Williams being Robin Williams. And so it's really sad that this happened. Because you like the person, but it's also like fucking selfish as shit, right? So there's two things, right? There's a sadness that a superstar who was, he was childlike and full of wonder, so I think he had a lot to offer, but evidently he didn't know enough to life in order to, be successful and do the right thing. So he didn't do the right thing. He wasn't like Spike Lee. So he did the wrong thing and he killed himself, and that's fucking sad. That he's basically saying that the only person he'd give a shit about himself was himself. And I don't understand the whole fucking depression thing. People say it's like the friend that keeps coming back, and just fucking, it's not a friend, it's an enemy. So just smother it and kill it and throw it into the fucking oven, right? Just like Hansel and Gretel, throw the witch into the fucking oven and let it burn. I think I figured it out too. So I think his wife had a lot to do with the reason why he killed himself. I don't think that this was a sort of setup, like the Kennedys or JFK or Illuminati, like Marilyn Monroe, right? She killed herself. Supposedly, that's the official version of like two fucking big ass, investigations. But actually, Marilyn Monroe was fucking Kennedy, and there was tunnels and shit underneath the White House. It fucks with the whole image of Camelot. They were fucking with her. There was definitely a cover up right beforehand. So, and they had the inclination to do it, right? They was, Bay of Pigs and then Empire and coup d'etat and all over the place. Vietnam, right? JFK helped start Vietnam. There's the biggest question for why somebody does this is why, right? Or when something like this happens, the biggest question in everybody's mind is why. And some of the shit that's coming out is pretty wild. Okay, so I think it's worth actually discussing. I don't think it's the wife. I don't know if it's the wife or not. I'm kind of saying tongue in cheek, but I do am skeptical of her because there's a quote that Robin Williams says that there is something that's worse than being alone. And the thing that's worse than being alone is being with somebody that makes you feel alone. So if you're with somebody that makes you feel alone, that's worse than actually being alone, and that's absolutely 100% true. He dies, in between August 10th and August 11th. So today's the 12th. So this would have been yesterday, right? So either from 10:30 p.m. at night, August 10th, he was talking to his wife, and then August 11th, 11:45 a.m. is when his assistant finds him. So there's about 12 or 13 hour and 15 minute window of opportunity that he could have died, right? So 12 hours he was in a different room of the house, different than of his wife, and his wife was running errands, right? We know what that means, okay? Running errands, yeah, right. She was going to, burn the suicide note. And the suicide note, that's actually a lot of TMZ and a lot of copycat fucking reporters, and don't watch out for the copycat suicides, and also watch out for the copycat reporters. There's one report that was sitting there saying that Lieutenant Keith Boyd, okay, so Lieutenant Keith Boyd, Boyd, said that we're not going to discuss the note at this time. So that suggests that there is a note and that he didn't want to talk about it at this time. So that could be something they're holding back from the public and we're going to release later, or maybe, it could have been destroyed. There could have been some foul play. Also, a toxicology report is going to come out, so it will determine if Robin Williams had any drugs in the system, and probably an autopsy too, right? So, but that's the coroner's report. That's sort of the preliminary autopsy, and it was death by asphyxiation, by hanging. And how Robin Williams had killed himself, the way it fucking reads, is he had a belt. He fucking strangled himself with the belt, one end around his neck, and the other end was around stuck in between a door and the door frame. So it was just kind of in between the door jamb, and he was slightly elevated. So he's like sitting in a chair, fully clothed, right? So it's not totally like Marilyn, but he's fully clothed, and he's sitting in a chair, slightly elevated, slightly suspended, and dead, right? He had been dead for several hours. When they called him up, they declared him dead as soon as the people got there. So he'd been dead for a long ass time. So that's the official story, right? That's what we're gonna believe if the wife and the assistant is to be trusted. And then all the fucking official people that was in on the thing too. Unfortunately, a lot of times shit at the fucking crime scene gets moved and is misplaced, and even JFK, right? Where did his brain go? We don't even know where his fucking brain is. Supposedly they're going to release all that information, in a year or two. So that's those are the questions, right? There is a note. There isn't a note. There's what about his disorders? He was an alcoholic and he was into cocaine. He has severe depression issues. That's what another thing, a red flag with the wife, right? It says, oh, I lost my best friend and my lover, and he was in severe depression, and please respect our privacy, so don't fucking talk to me, right? So, but what did you say to him? Did you say something that broke his heart? In all of his movies, he tells Will Hunting, it's all about love. I'm sorry, I'm going to go see about a girl, and he chases his heart, and it's all about all of life. He sums up with the experiences of those that you love, right? Those interactions. And there is an inner sadness to him, but bipolar disorder is easily treatable. Severe depression, that's a little harder to I get rid of from what I hear. But again, why was he severely depressed? Not only was there two expensive divorces, so he already had some heartbreaks. Maybe she said something to him that night, or maybe she didn't, right? Maybe she was going to errands, or maybe she was going to her mother's house or to her sister's house because they had an argument. There's a bipolar disorder, severe depression, alcohol, cocaine, and so he has like a history of sort of having fucked up issues. But he had two divorces, right? So love is kind of a roller coaster in a way, and he had gone through two divorces, two pricey divorces, and then MercuryNews.com was talking about how he killed himself because of the money. He had money issues. So Robin Williams had issues with money. He had financial issues. Well, what does that mean? So who gives a shit, right? Well, he had financial issues, which isn't going to be good for his kids who's got trust funds. And that also leads to motive. His kids have a motive, right, for setting it all up. If it's like Marilyn Monroe, that means somebody had to have access to him, could have had a team and had it organized, get in, get out, make it look suicide, and then walk away, right? So if there was a Kennedy or Illuminati or some fucking mafia hitman type fucking shit that's going on, they really had to fucking paint the place up really well. Who could it be? People closest to him, or some person from a long ass time ago that he just pissed off and they just said fuck him, I'm gonna get him. Trust funds is going to his three kids, and they're all going to get paid on their 21st, 25th, 21st, 25th, and the 30th birthdays, right? So his three kids will get fucking paid, right, on their three birthdays of 21st, 25th, and the 30th birthday. But he had financial issues, so do they even have any fucking money, right? They're trust fund babies, but do they get any money from Robin Williams' estate? If I was the kids, I'd be suing anybody and everybody, if they have any fucking wrongful death lawsuit, on their hands. So the copycat suicides is something to worry about. So what this makes me think of with the suicide, I'm disappointed with Robin Williams. I'm sad about it. Because he was funny, he was hilarious, and he's just a comedian, right? He just wants to make you laugh. So what's not to like about somebody like him. But like the way he was a weird dude. He was weird and creepy, and the way he would like. I heard how he became the comedian that he was like he basically just created all these characters in the basement by himself, right? Nobody would talk to him and shit, so he created all these characters with all these different, I guess, stuffed animals, sort of like Cartman, right, in South Park, and was able to generate and create so many different sort of scenarios and voices and shit that eventually, he became the Robin Williams that we know today. But that's weird. That's a weird fucking beginning, right? To start out just with your own imaginary friends and creating your own scripts and shit by yourself. If life is about the time shared with people that you love, then that means that's not a good time of his life, right? By his own definition. So, um, he was clothed, right? I mentioned that. Death by hanging with a belt. There's cuts on his wrist, on the inside of his left wrist with a pocket knife. They said they're superficial stab wounds. So they're cutting his wrist, superficial stab wounds, and they're saying that he tried to kill himself by cutting himself, and then said fuck it, and then did that fucking thing with the belt, right? Where he fucking hangs and puts one end of the belt, they said, around his neck, and then the other end was stuck in between the door and the closet, closed closet door frame. So it just sounds like it's just kind of, stuffed in the middle, like sort of a door jam, right? So just kind of, you put the belt in there and then you just kind of just slam the door and then it makes it tight and then did that. But that's weird. I mean, he would have had to, he was slightly suspended, so maybe he just slowly, is that a slow suicidal death? And then the fact that he tried to cut himself, like there he said, there are superficial stab wounds, so that it wasn't deep enough to actually do it. So that suggests that he was going to try to cut himself. That's how he was going to die, and then just said, "Fuck, I'm gonna hang myself." It just seems like a weird way to fucking go. He was also a liberal. He was also when he did talk about politics, which was very rare, he was pretty much on point, right? He saw what America was and where it was at. Most of the time, he just wanted to be funny, right? But I think if he talked more of the political thing, his movie had him losing the political election. I think he should have fucking won, and that maybe Jon Stewart could actually become fucking relevant. And that is an issue, right? Do you just want to be a fucking fun and dance man? Some people say that a person is a good actor because they don't have a sense of who they actually are, so they can lose themselves into a completely different character, transform themselves, lose themselves into a completely different character, and it's not just method acting, but that's who they are. That's all that they are, is that fucking character, right? They don't know who the fuck they really are. They have lost themselves into this thing, and so that's how they are able to survive. They just kind of dive into this character and dive into that character. So when someone kills themselves, they said that there's no fucking hope. It's sad. Hunter S. Thompson, he killed himself, which I really liked him up until that fucking point. There is a problem with copycat suicides in high school in Gallatin County. Chris Kimmon, John Booth, and Mia Knotts had fucking off themselves within a month. 1 month, 3 kids from the same school, 2 8th graders and a senior, and then Liebig, and then Roger Barlow's father. And there's probably more, right? But those are the suicides that I know of that come to mind. Also, any young people that are in car accidents, even though they're not directly suicidal, the circumstances in their life kind of might have pushed them into that direction. Sociology, Emil Durkheim on suicide is sort of the father of sociology. He says that when you die in a car wreck, that a lot of times the accident wasn't just an accident. There was shit going on in their lives that made them wreck. And that makes me think of Tony Grobshover, Chris Kimmon, who kills himself right after a car accident. And so I don't know if that's just so traumatic, or if he had the car accident because of some other sort of thing that had happened. Booth, it was because his father didn't care, so it just made him feel alone. Mia Knotts, I don't understand maybe what her thing was. They made it seem like it was a lovers thing, but they actually weren't lovers. So it was copycat, right? So they copycat. Booth was first, and Mia Knotts, and then Chris Kimmon. So they saw someone else do it, get a bunch of glory, and they said, "Fuck it, fuck the world. There is no hope for me, and I'm not going to ever, move forward in life. So put a gun in my mouth." And that's how they did it with a gun. But fucking Robin Williams does it kind of pussified way, and so did Hunter S. Thompson, right? Just fucking pistol in your mouth. Like that's some old guy shit. So he had two pricey divorces. He was all about love. He has a wife at this time, right? The Keith boy. We're not going to discuss the note at this time. Suspended, slightly above, seated position. Worse alone. Feel people make us feel alone. When he had a kid, that's when he got over all of his alcohol issues and cocaine. Because he says when you have a kid, that's when you say, all right, I got to get my shit together. And his mother said that he needed to get on vitamins and exercise, and that's what he did.